When the cast of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta sat down for what was supposed to be a chill, drama-light scene, nobody could have predicted what was about to happen. The room was thick with unspoken tension, the kind you only notice once it erupts. Scrappy tried to keep things playful, throwing out jokes like he always does. Even Mendeecees was smiling at first, staying low-key, doing his usual calm nods and avoiding the mess. But something in his energy was different. His jaw was tight. His hands stayed clasped. And the minute Kirk's name came up, everything shifted. Mendeecees stopped smiling. His eyes darkened. His whole vibe went from chill to surgical. Then he leaned forward and said it loud enough to slice through the air, "He got an obsession with my penis." The room froze. Scrappy's joke died in his throat. The producer behind the camera coughed. No one laughed. No one moved. Not even Kirk, who sat there like someone had yanked his soul out mid-breath. But Mendeecees didn't flinch. He didn't apologize. He didn't even blink. He just let the silence stretch, like he knew what he said was already echoing across Atlanta. Then he hit them again. "It's not my penis. It's my presence." That's when you knew this wasn't a throwaway moment. This was years in the making. This wasn't shade. This was an autopsy. And the body on the table? Kirk's reputation, everyone wanted to believe it was a joke. That Mendeecees was just venting. But the way he kept going? Nah. This wasn't about one moment or one line. This was a man who'd been sitting on disrespect for too long and finally decided to crack the floor open. He called out how Kirk had been obsessively watching his moves, not just on the show, but behind the scenes, off camera, even off the grid. Tracking who he talked to, what events he pulled up at, and why Yandy was still rocking with him. "Why? You watching me so hard?" he asked. "You my woman or something?" That line alone had Scrappy rubbing his face like he was trying to scrub the moment out of existence. Then came the deeper cut. Apparently, there'd been rumors that Kirk was tight because Mendeecees had some kind of history with Jasmine, Kirk's longtime headache and sidechick turned storyline. Mendeecees shut it down fast. "Why would I want his leftovers?" No smirk. No sarcasm. Just cold delivery. "You think I can't get the main course?" And that's when people started whispering. Because now it wasn't just about jealousy. Now it was about Kirk feeling threatened. Threatened by the way Mendeecees moves in silence, stays scandal-free, and somehow still commands respect. And while the cameras rolled, Mendeecees laid it all out. Kirk letting Rashida talk reckless about Yandy on camera. Throwing subtle shade, dropping slick comments, acting like it was all in fun. But Mendeecees wasn't laughing. "This ain't just TV drama. This is my real life. That's my wife. That's my home." And when he said that, something in the room shifted. The silence got heavier. The reality got thicker. And that reality was that Kirk, the same man who always talked about loyalty, about marriage, about standing 10 toes down for your family, was the one playing both sides. Mendeecees didn't hold back. He talked about how Kirk would act like a big brother behind the scenes, giving advice, talking peace, but the moment the cameras turned on, he'd flip. Letting Rashida throw shots. Smiling through the mess. He acted like a pastor in public, and a petty teenage girl in private. And then he dropped the bomb nobody saw coming. Kirk had sent a private DM to Yandy, late at night, questioning their marriage. He said she was putting too much into a relationship that didn't look stable, Mendeecees revealed. Yandy showed him the message. She tried to brush it off. Tried to say maybe he meant well. But when you add it to everything else, the looks, the shade, the whispers, it didn't feel like concern. It felt like sabotage. That's when it became clear. This wasn't just about jealousy. This was about a man trying to chip away at another man's household, not with force, but with subtle, sneaky precision. The disrespect wasn't loud, Mendeecees said. It was sneaky. That's what made it worse. If Kirk had come to him direct, face to face, they could have settled it. But he chose back channels and backhanded comments. And now, the damage was done, and just when the air felt like it couldn't get any thicker, Mendeecees dropped another truth. A few weeks before that explosive sit-down, producers had floated the idea of a confrontation between him and Kirk. A little tension. Something to boost ratings. Mendeecees agreed at first. He thought they'd talk like grown men. But then, he found out Kirk had already been planting seeds. Feeding producers half-truths. Hinting that Mendeecees wasn't being real with Yandy, that something shady was going on. And that's when he realized this wasn't reconciliation. This was ambush. "You set me up to look like a liar, a cheater, a fake husband." The pain in his voice didn't come from rage. It came from betrayal. Because this was someone he once called brother. Someone he broke bread with. Someone he trusted. Now weaponizing his real life for fake drama. For a storyline. For camera. Time.as the camera rolled, Mendeecees didn't shout. He didn't get wild. He just kept his tone low and lethal. I'm not mad about the jokes. Say what you want. Laugh it up. But don't play in my marriage. Don't let your wife talk slick. While you sit silent. That's my legacy you're messing with. Even Scrappy, who'd been trying to keep the peace, finally understood the weight. This ain't beef. This is betrayal wrapped in fake friendship, Mendeecees said. And at that point, there was no going back. Not for the friendship. Not for the show. Not for anything. What came next only made it worse. Because Mendeecees said there was more. That Kirk had tried to get Jasmine back on the show, not to tell her story, but to stir up chaos. To tempt Mendeecees into reacting. And when that didn't work, Kirk played victim. Acting like he was the one under attack. Like Mendeecees was moving shady when it was Kirk pulling the strings the whole time. Even Yandy, who had stayed classy through all the mess, was starting to see it. Every time Rashida made a joke about their fake marriage, every time producers asked questions about their relationship, she'd come home drained, quiet, worn out. And Mendeecees could see it was getting to her. The attacks weren't just on him. They were on their home, their peace, their bond. Eventually, Mendeecees said enough. If people wanted to question his loyalty, then he'd question theirs. If folks wanted to test his silence, then they were about to hear him speak. And when he didn't just speak for himself. He spoke for every man who's ever been dragged while trying to protect his peace. For every couple that's been targeted just because they didn't play the drama game. For every man who's had to watch someone smile in his face while stabbing him in the back. He wasn't looking for closure. He was looking for clarity. Don't use my name for your plot, he said. Don't drag my wife for your arc. And don't ever think I won't speak up just because I've been quiet. And with that, the silence in the room was deafening. The producers didn't say a word. The cast didn't move. Even Kirk, for all his slick talk and behind-the-scenes whispers, couldn't find a response. Because when the truth finally lands, it doesn't need volume. It needs witnesses. By the time the dust started to settle from Mendeecees' explosive moment, it was already too late. The blogs had it. The clip had leaked. The streets were talking. And the quote? It was everywhere. He got an obsession. With my penis. 5 words that detonated a season's worth of silent tension, years of fake brotherhood, and every little slick comment Kirk thought he could get away with. And while the internet laughed, debated, and dissected, Kirk was dead quiet. No Instagram live. No response video. Not even a vague, let God handle it, post. Just radio silence. Because deep down, he knew. That moment had exposed something bigger than just a beef. It exposed him. Meanwhile, Yandy didn't need to say much. She posted a photo with Mendeecees' simple caption, unbothered, unshaken, unmatched. It was elegant, icy, surgical. A message wrapped in love. And the internet? Ate it up. Fans were reposting it everywhere. Some called it shade, others said it was queen behavior. Either way, it hit its mark. And yes, Rashida saw it. She tried to clap back subtly with a post that said, real women fix each other's crowns. But baby, that crown was already crooked. And the comments weren't buying it. Every other reply was some variation of, fix your own house first, or, why your man so pressed about another man's marriage? Behind the scenes, it got even messier. Kirk was in full damage control mode. Calling producers. Begging editors. Asking if the footage could be softened, edited, cut a little different. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that Mendeecees misread his intentions, that he never meant to disrespect anybody. But Mendeecees wasn't trying to hear none of that. He told the crew point blank, air it as it happened. If y'all want real TV, then show the real. And they did. Even other cast members started picking sides. Carly Red told her glam team that she always felt like Kirk was jealous of how Mendeecees moved, smooth, no mess, always calm even when chaos was swirling. Scrappy admitted to someone off camera that he respected how Mendeecees handled it. More dudes need to speak up like that, he allegedly said. Even Bambi, usually minding her own lane, was overheard telling a stylist, Kirk gotta learn how to mind his marriage. And then there was Spice, never one to stay silent when the drama is spicy. She reposted the clip with laughing emojis and the caption, not the D*CK Chronicles chili. Shady and accurate. That post alone racked up hundreds of thousands of views. Because this wasn't just a moment. This was a movement. And let's be real, the scene didn't just stay within the love and hip-hop bubble. Even pages that don't normally post VH1 content jumped in. Meme accounts. Celeb gossip channels. Twitter threads. Think pieces. One user wrote, Kirk watching Mendeecees like he's the last season of Power. Sir, go mind Rashida. The hashtags went wild, hashtag obsessiongate, hashtag not your man sir, hashtag keep it in your pants and in your house. And through all of it, Kirk kept pretending he was unfazed, but the real kicker came weeks later, in a confessional that aired after the fallout. Kirk, trying to repair the mess, sat stiffly in his chair, swallowing his words like they were broken glass. "I think there's been some misunderstanding. I never meant no disrespect to Mendeecees or Yandy. But you could tell, he was walking a tightrope, scared to say the wrong thing, scared to confirm what everybody already believed, that the obsession was real, and the exposure was deserved." Fans weren't having it. The comments lit him up. "This you," with screenshots of past clips. "Not a misunderstanding when the evidence is 4K. Some even went back through old episodes and started pointing out moments where Kirk would low-key shade Mendeecees, the smirks, the lingering comments, the way he always found a way to bring up Yandy like it was casual. But baby, it wasn't casual. It was chronic. The weirdest part? Mendeecees didn't even retaliate. He didn't hop on live. Didn't call nobody out in interviews. He went silent. Walked into the next cast gathering, saw Kirk sitting there, and walked past him like he wasn't even present. No nod. No eye contact. Nothing. That silence? That hit harder than any public dragging. Even Rashida looked uncomfortable, like she finally realized there was no fixing what had been broken. The energy shifted. Fake laughs were gone. Cast dinners were dry. Production meetings had a weird air. And the producers? They were loving every minute of it. Because for once, the drama wasn't fake. It wasn't scripted. It was real, raw, and completely unedited. What hurt Kirk the most, sources say, wasn't the internet backlash. It was the fact that Mendeecees didn't reach out to squash it off camera. No text. No DM. No olive branch. When Kirk tried to get a mutual friend to reach out and mediate, Mendeecees gave one response: "I said what I said. Period. Full stop. No discussion. No backpedal." Some folks started blaming the producers, claiming they set it all up, played both sides, baited the confrontation. But if you really pay attention, you'll see it was years in the making. The moment just gave Mendeecees the space to finally say what he'd been swallowing for too long. And then, just when you thought the drama had peaked, the fan theories started. Screenshots. IP addresses. Timeline breakdowns. One thread exposed a suspicious burner account that had been tagging Mendeecees in weird, cryptic posts for months. Stuff like, "Some of y'all trying to be him instead of with him." And then came the reveal, that the account was linked back to someone allegedly connected to Kirk's digital team. Coincidence? Maybe. But fans didn't think so. One user wrote, "That man watching Mendeecees like he trying to unlock a new character skin on VH1. The internet was relentless." Then came the voicemail. A grainy audio file leaked to a gossip blog. A man's voice, allegedly Kirk, saying something slick about how some dudes got lucky with the right storyline and now act like they the king of Harlem. Everyone knew who that was aimed at. And once again, no denial, no explanation. Just silence. Even industry insiders started chiming in. One reality TV therapist went viral for saying, "Obsession like this doesn't come from rivalry. It comes from admiration twisted by envy. It's not about the man. It's about what the man represents: peace, respect, legacy." And that was the part that hit hardest. Because for all the flash and mess Kirk brings, Mendeecees had something he couldn't buy: peace. A stable woman. A loyal household. And a narrative that didn't need chaos to be compelling. Meanwhile, Yandy stayed graceful. Never messy. Never loud. But her silence was powerful. Fans noticed that when Rashida would post her usual #marriagegoals content, Yandy would just quietly post real moments, cooking, laughing, hugging their kids. And that comparison? Unavoidable. One looked curated. The other looked effortless, and now Kirk, once the villain fans loved to hate, was just fading. He tried pivoting. Started posting throwback photos. Studio clips. Music flashbacks. But the comments dragged him back every time. No matter what he posted, someone would reply, "But why you watching another man's *CK though?" It became the running joke of the season. The thing he couldn't escape, and the wildest part? Mendeecees wasn't even trying to be messy. He said what he had to say and stepped back. No clout chase. No spin. No dragging. Just truth. And the precision with which he delivered it? That's what made it lethal. It didn't feel like a fight. It felt like a reckoning. So when the reunion came around and the producers tried to bring it all full circle, tried to stage the moment, the fake resolution, the staged hug, Mendeecees shut it down. He sat on that couch cool, collected, and distant. And that silence? That said everything. Because sometimes, when the betrayal runs deep, there's nothing left to say. By the time the reunion aired, the cast wasn't the same. The laughs were forced. The glances were sharp. The air in the room was different, heavier, colder. Kirk walked in trying to play it cool, like he hadn't been the center of the mess, like the world hadn't just watched him get dragged for obsessing over another man's life. Mendeecees was already seated, calm as ever, arms crossed, eyes low. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. And when Kirk sat across from him, trying to muster up a greeting, Mendeecees didn't even nod. That silence? It wasn't awkward. It was surgical. Controlled. Intentional. The kind of silence that says, "We're done here." And there's no comeback. Rashida tried to keep it light. She giggled, flipped her hair, threw a few soft jabs about people needing thicker skin. But no one was laughing. Even the audience could feel it, the fake was fading. The cracks were showing. And when the host tried to transition into the drama, to get both men to clear the air, Mendeecees didn't take the bait. He leaned into his mic and said one sentence that shut the whole room down. "You can't make peace with someone still holding the knife." The audience gasped. Kirk froze. Even Rashida's smile dimmed. Because this wasn't about some petty spat anymore. This was about a line that had been crossed so many times, it was no longer visible. A man who once called you brother, now treating your marriage like content. Your life like a storyline. Your wife like an accessory to his ego trip. And for Mendeecees, there was no fixing that. Backstage, things were even messier. Producers whispered about the fallout. Editors were debating how much to keep. Legal had already stepped in once, worried about the burner account rumors, the alleged DM to Yandy, the audio leak that still hadn't been addressed publicly. But the fans? They were locked in. Watching everything. Dissecting every clip. Reposting every moment. And the narrative was clear, Mendeecees wasn't fighting back, he was exposing. And that made it 10 times more dangerous. Meanwhile, Yandy had been sitting back, letting her man speak. She didn't have to jump in. She didn't need to validate anything. Her silence wasn't submission, it was strategy. She posted nothing during the reunion week. Not a single promo. Not a single story. But right after the episode aired, she uploaded a video of her and Mendeecees cooking dinner together, laughing, music in the background, soft lighting. The caption? "Peace ain't passive. It's earned." Boom. The fans lost it. Subtle, classy, lethal. That's the kind of shade that doesn't need thunder. It just lands, and as for Kirk, he tried to pivot again. He started a new vlog series. About entrepreneurship, threw up some motivational content, even tried to position himself as a mentor to up-and-coming artists. But the comment section wouldn't let him breathe. Every video had at least one user typing, "But why you so invested in Mendeecees' marriage though?" The damage had been done. And this time, no rebrand could save it. What made this entire saga hit harder than most was the fact that it peeled back a layer of reality TV that people don't usually get to see. Not the glam. Not the fights. But the betrayal. The quiet games. The way friendships get weaponized for screen time. The way grown men start competing not for success, but for relevance. Mendeecees wasn't just calling out Kirk. He was exposing the system, the way producers encourage the mess, the way castmates get rewarded for stirring the pot, the way peace is punished and drama is gold, and yet, through all of it, Mendeecees never folded. He never broke character. Because this wasn't character. This was real. Real marriage. Real loyalty. Real wounds. He said it best in the final 5 minutes of the reunion, when the host asked him if he regretted saying what he said. He paused, looked into the camera, and replied, "I regret holding it in for so long." That sentence alone became a movement. Memes, shirts, tweets, think pieces. Fans resonated with it because it spoke to something bigger than TV. It spoke to every person who's ever bitten their tongue for the sake of fake peace. And once Mendeecees finally spoke, there was no putting the lid back on the truth, and Kirk? He looked like a man who finally realized he couldn't charm or talk his way out of this one. The mirror had been held up. The projection was shattered. And what was left was a man forced to sit in the very shade he spent years throwing. Even Rashida, who once rode hard for her man no matter what, started to pull back. Sources said she was tired, not of Mendeecees, not of Yandy, but of the mess. The optics. The whispering. The side eyes. The idea that their brand was now tied to obsession, not resilience. She'd spent years trying to hold their image together, but this time, the crack came from the inside. And no amount of couples therapy scenes or joint interviews could cover it, and in the months that followed, the energy only widened. Mendeecees started landing brand deals, community talks, youth mentorship panels. His name wasn't tied to chaos, it was tied to clarity. And Yandy? She stood beside him every step of the way, no longer apologizing for her peace, no longer entertaining the petty, no longer laughing at shots from women who didn't know the weight of loyalty, and while Kirk tried to save face, the truth kept bubbling back. Bloggers got bolder. Fan pages started digging. One account even leaked an old email thread suggesting that Kirk tried to block a pitch for a spin-off show featuring Mendeecees and Yandy, saying, "It confuses the brand and weakens ATL's identity." Translation? He didn't want to be replaced. But baby, you can't block what's already divinely aligned, and so, here we are. The reunion's over. The footage aired. The edits couldn't soften it. And the silence from Mendeecees? Still loud. Still strong. Because when a man truly knows his worth, he doesn't chase validation. He doesn't need revenge. The truth is loud enough, and the question that still hangs in the air, one that no staged apology can erase, no live can clean up: why was Kirk really so obsessed? Was it jealousy? Was it insecurity? Or was it the slow realization that no matter how many seasons you survive, if the audience starts seeing through your act, the curtains fall fast? Mendeecees wasn't just protecting his marriage. He was protecting his legacy, his peace, his manhood. And he did it without screaming, without dragging, without sinking to anyone's level. And Yandy? She never had to scream. She never had to curse. She never had to clap back. She let her husband lead. She stood behind his truth. And together, they proved that real love doesn't have to perform for ratings. It just has to endure. So now the ball's in Kirk's court. Will he finally face the mirror? Or will he keep playing a role no one's buying anymore? Because what's done in the dark, especially on reality TV, always finds the spotlight. And this time, it wasn't a camera that exposed it. It was the truth.